executive recruiting is a little bit different. That is usually an acknowledgement of a really strong immediate need, and you want to have the resources fully deployed from what we can do. In a contingency search, admittedly, we might be torn in a couple different directions, plate spinning, but in a retained executive search, you have our attention. It also helps serve the narrative. When we talk with candidates, especially passive candidates, if it's a higher level management or executive level position, they don't want to know that 2 or 3 or 4 firms are working on this. They want to know you have engaged with a firm, you've selected somebody that is well vetted, understands the industry, understands what your needs are. We spend a lot of time talking with clients in those instances to know exactly what you want to have out there in the marketplace for that narrative.
It's most applicable in those cases where you need something really specific and what that thing is very difficult to find. So with a lot of our broker clients, these aren't applicable in situations for their more common positions, things like account managers or CSRs. When you get into, as the name would entail, executive level positions or department managers, or sometimes even those service roles, but within a really niche vertical like aviation or malpractice or energy, typically you need to do a much deeper dive. You have to really get involved. We provide a lot of tracking and kind of information exchange along that way, but in real targeted cases.
To us, it's really not about the function of the cost. To us, it's the function of the process. The intersection of what you do pre-search launch and taking your job out into the market is the actual retainer itself. So the way that we operate is there's 50% of the legwork is done walking alongside our clients, building a candidate profile, building a search strategy, discussing marketing, determining the interview process, and then ultimately how you're going to communicate the transparency and the reporting and the market analysis. All that happens in our process when we work with clients on an executive search before we ever say, now let's go talk to a candidate. And then when we start talking to candidates, because of that transparency and because of that collaboration, once we really start working with those recruits, then the second half of that becomes super important. How do we keep that candidate engaged? How do we keep that experience great for them? How do we ensure that the person you've worked so hard to find, put so much time and money into, actually comes to you? And to me, looking at that in a very thoughtful and kind of total process way is different than what a lot of people just associate and simplify as a retained search.